During this time of syncretization, Philo describes the Logos of God.
Okay, so let's break down the idea of the Logos here. Or at least let's break it down a bit, because there is really a lot here to deal with. So the idea of the Logos does have some root in Greek philosophy, and it's important to realize that the term Logos, while it can mean a number of different things based on the context, often means something like word or idea. In fact, throughout the New Testament, we do see the term Logos meaning simply word. This is rather important. Now, the idea of the Logos is quite ancient. The first time we see it being used in a philosophical sense is with Heraclitus around 500 BC. Most importantly here, though, is probably the development of the idea by the Middle Platonists around the 1st century BC. It is this philosophical background that heavily influences Philo. With that said, Philo may not be the only Jew who is developing idea of the Logos. For instance, we see Logos theology within the Gospel of John. Now, we don't have a direct connection between Philo and John, and in fact, the manner in which John develops his theology is radically different from Philo. So it is rather possible that both Philo and John, and possibly even others, developed this sort of idea. This view becomes even more plausible when we factor in the rest of the context here. While one portion of the context is this Greek philosophical idea, the other portion is Jewish theology. Within Jewish theology, we have a number of Logos-like concepts. In Aramaic, we have the Memra, which also translates to word. In many ways, Memra theology was similar to Logos theology. We also have Sophia, or wisdom, and often Sophia and Logos are identified as a single entity. Philo himself makes this connection. However, as Daniel Boyarin points out, he's not the first to do so, as we see in the Bible a connection between God's word and God's wisdom. So while Philo does describe his Logos theology, it wasn't necessarily a unique idea in general. In his case, he does bring in some concepts from the Middle Platonic philosophy, because that's his background, but we see the same basic idea developing in other places, as the framework is already there within Judaism.